Most countries rely on visibility, open borders, shared information, predictable systems. Turkmenistan does not. Large parts of the country operate quietly, with limited access, minimal exposure, and vast areas that feel disconnected from the outside world. To understand Turkmenistan, you have to stop expecting openness and start paying attention to absence. This isn't a place that broadcasts itself. It doesn't compete for attention. It doesn't simplify its narrative for outsiders. The silence here is structural, where the land overwhelms everything. Most of Turkmenistan is dominated by one environment. This is the Karakum Desert. Here's the first shock. The desert isn't a region. It's the baseline. It covers approximately 70% of the country's total land area. That's roughly 350,000 square kilometers of sand, rock, and sparse vegetation. Settlements are scattered. Distances stretch. Infrastructure feels thin. Movement here isn't guided by convenience. It's dictated by survival. The desert determines where water flows. It defines where populations can sustain themselves. It creates invisible boundaries that no policy can override. The land doesn't invite exploration. It permits it cautiously. Temperatures here swing dramatically. Summer peaks exceed 50 degrees Celsius in exposed areas. Winter nights can drop below freezing. The Karakum doesn't adapt to human presence. Humans adapt to it, or they don't stay. Roads cross the desert, but they feel temporary. Like agreements the land hasn't fully accepted. There's a weight to the emptiness here, not peaceful emptiness, structural emptiness. The kind that reminds you how much energy it takes to maintain anything permanent. When a fire never goes out. Deep in the desert is a place that feels unreal. This is the Darvaza gas crater. Here's what feels wrong. A massive crater has been burning continuously for decades. No containment, no shutdown, just fire, day and night. The crater measures approximately 69 meters in diameter. Its depth reaches around 30 meters. The flames have been burning since 1971. In a landscape defined by emptiness, this constant flame feels deliberate, even though it wasn't planned. It began as an industrial accident. Soviet geologists drilling for natural gas triggered a collapse. The ground gave way. Methane started leaking. The decision was made to ignite it. The assumption was it would burn out in weeks. It didn't. Decades later, the fire still consumes whatever rises from below. The land here doesn't correct mistakes. It absorbs them permanently. At night, the glow is visible from kilometers away. The heat distorts the air above it. The sound is a low, constant roar. This isn't a tourist attraction in the traditional sense. There are no barriers, no ticket booths, no guided interpretation. You arrive, you witness, you leave. The crater doesn't explain itself. It simply continues. And then control appears, where a city breaks the desert. Out of the Karakum rises Ashgabat. Here's the contrast. White marble buildings, wide roads, perfect symmetry. After so much openness and unpredictability, the city feels engineered. Ashgabat holds a Guinness World Record for the highest density of white marble buildings. The concentration is deliberate. The aesthetic is uniform. Movement is guided. Space is controlled. Nothing feels accidental. The streets are wide enough to feel empty even when occupied. Fountains run on schedules. Green spaces are maintained with precision that feels defiant given the surrounding climate. Ashgabat doesn't blend with the land. It overrides it. The city operates as a statement, not about history, not about gradual development, about intention. Buildings rise in clusters that follow planned geometry. Monuments appear at calculated intervals. Public spaces feel choreographed. There's no visual negotiation with the desert. The city simply declares itself separate. In most places, cities grow incrementally. They adapt to terrain. They reflect compromise. Ashgabat was reimagined rapidly. Much of the current city center was built or rebuilt in recent decades. The result is a landscape that feels composed rather than accumulated. If you're interested in destinations shaped by extreme conditions and places that function outside familiar systems, subscribe. This channel explores how geography quietly defines how places work. Stakes reset. Why this matters. Because when control fades, the environment here immediately takes over. There's very little middle ground. The desert doesn't wait, it reclaims. Structures require constant maintenance. Water systems demand continuous management. Roads need relentless upkeep. Stop the effort, and the land returns. Where the land exposes its edges. In the west, the terrain shifts again. This is Yanjikala Canyon. Here's the shock. The landscape opens suddenly into cliffs, layers, and color. No gradual transition, no warning. Flat desert gives way to dramatic drop-offs. The canyon walls display bands of sediment, rust red, pale yellow, cream white. Each layer represents a different geological period, different sea levels, different climates. It feels less like erosion and more like exposure, as if the land peeled itself open. The formations here were shaped over millions of years. Ancient seas once covered this region. Their retreat left behind sedimentary deposits that hardened into rock. Wind and rare water events carved the current shapes. What remains is a landscape that feels architectural without being designed. The cliffs drop sharply. The scale is disorienting. There are no railings, no marked paths, no infrastructure softening the experience. You stand at the edge, and the drop is absolute. This is nature functioning without interpretation, without safety measures, without the assumption that access should be easy. When history is left unguarded, Turkmenistan is home to ancient remnants rarely discussed. This is Merv. Here's what feels unsettling. There are no dense crowds, no heavy framing, no constant restoration. Ruins stretch quietly across open ground. Merv was once among the largest cities in the world. At its peak during the 12th century, it may have housed over 500,000 people. It was a center of trade along the Silk Road, a hub of scholarship, a seat of power for multiple empires. Then it was destroyed. Mongol invasions in the 13th century left it in ruins. What remains are earthen mounds, crumbling walls, foundations of structures that once defined an era. History here isn't curated. It's left where it fell. There are some efforts at preservation. Some structures have been studied, but vast sections remain untouched. You can walk through areas where few others pass. The scale of what existed becomes clear only when you see how far the ruins extend. The past exists without explanation. No plaques at every corner. No audio guides narrating significance. The site assumes you understand its weight, or it doesn't care if you do. Where distance remains absolute. Between cities and landmarks, there is very little in between. Long stretches of road, minimal signage, few services. Here's the quiet shock. Distance in Turkmenistan still means isolation. Technology hasn't erased it. Development hasn't softened it. The country hasn't been compressed. Traveling from Ashgabat to the Darvaza crater takes hours. The road is mostly empty. The horizon stretches without interruption. You pass small settlements occasionally. They appear suddenly, then disappear. There are few roadside amenities. Fuel stations exist, but not frequently. Cell coverage is inconsistent. The space between destinations feels tangible. It's not just time passing. It's awareness of how much land separates one place from another. In many modern countries, infrastructure has shortened perceived distance. Highways compress travel time. Services fill the gaps. Connectivity creates the illusion of proximity. Turkmenistan resists that compression. The desert remains a barrier. Distance retains its original meaning. Why Turkmenistan feels unfamiliar? Most modern places rely on access. Turkmenistan relies on separation. Desert limits movement. Fire burns without interruption. Cities impose order abruptly. History remains exposed. Distance still matters. The country doesn't invite understanding. It allows observation from a distance. That's what feels unsettling. There's no narrative designed for quick consumption. No simplified version prepared for outsiders. The visa process is notoriously complex. Tourist infrastructure is minimal. Independent travel requires planning that most destinations don't demand. Turkmenistan isn't defined by secrecy or spectacle. It's defined by control and absence. Vast desert, permanent fire, engineered cities, unguarded history, unbroken distance. These places weren't shaped to be easy to reach or explain. They exist on their own terms. The country presents itself without apology, without simplification, without the assumption that exposure equals connection. If this video changed how you think about where places can function, subscribe, because some of the most revealing destinations to visit aren't hidden. They're simply built to stand apart.